Hello everyone, welcome to Achievers IAS classes. Let's begin our discussion on the current events of 20th Feb 2018. The first issue in news is regarding a case of willful loan default against the firm Rotomac Global Private Limited registered by the CBI. The Enforcement Directorate 2 is launching a case of money laundering into the fund diversion charges against the company. The case comes just days after the alleged 11,500 crore scam of the PNB Bank, thereby raising fears of more such scams being unearthed in the days to come. Rotomac in this particular case has duped a consortium of banks by siphoning of funds in conspiracy with certain bank officials and had submitted forged and false documents to get the credit facilities from the banks. A point to remember from the examination perspective is a willful defaulter is one who has the means to repay the loan but does not intend to do so. Having said that, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding the recently held World Congress on Information Technology, where the Prime Minister called for reskilling of the existing workforce. The event is being held for the first time in India and is considered as the Olympics in the field of information technology. Earlier, the Prime Minister had unveiled the Future Skills Platform, which is an initiative of NASSCOM to upskill 2 million technology professionals in India. This is an important development because India not only has a growing number of innovative entrepreneurs, but also has a growing market for tech innovation. With that said, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding the Global Forum for TB Vaccines to be held in New Delhi, where the results of a clinical trial providing new evidence that tuberculosis vaccines can prevent sustained infections in high risk adolescents is set to be announced. According to the World Health Organization, about one third of the world's population has latent TB infection, which means that people have been infected by the TB bacteria but are not yet ill with the disease and cannot transmit the disease. These people infected with the TB bacteria have a lifetime risk of falling ill with tuberculosis at a staggering 10% rate. And the people ill with tuberculosis can infect 10 to 15 other people through close contact within a course of a year. And without proper treatment, majority of the HIV negative and nearly all the HIV positive people with tuberculosis will die. Therefore, the recent study, which was conducted to evaluate the safety of the TB vaccines for their ability to prevent initial and sustained TB infections among healthy adolescents in South Africa, is going to be a big step forward in tackling the menace of TB. Having said that, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding the uncertainty over the future of the Bank's Board Bureau. The Bank's Board Bureau was set up under the government's Indradhanush program to reform public sector banks based on the recommendations of the PJ Nair committee, and it was seen as a step taken towards reforming the boards of public sector banks. The BBB, which was headed by the former CAG, Mr. Vinod Roy, is facing an uncertain future with the tenure of its members coming to an end in March this year. The BBB had representatives from government and RBI apart from independent banking professionals and was involved in shortlisting and interviewing of candidates for appointments on the boards of public sector banks. The issue coming in the wake of the huge PNB scam and fears of other such scams in the near future is worrisome, and we have to wait and watch what the government decides on the future of the bank's board bureau in the days to come. Till then, let's move on to the next issue, which is a new finding regarding the intelligence of a insect species, that is the tree crickets. The tiny tea crickets amplify their mating calls, which are called as baffles, using loudspeakers that they build themselves from leaves. This they do so by cutting a neat hole near the center of a leaf, adjusting themselves within the hole, thereby using the leaf as a megaphone. This is almost certainly an inherited behavior, but throws light into the belief that brain size is often related with intelligence. Because these tiny creatures, when given a choice of two leaves, they always pick the bigger, thereby displaying something what we call as material selectivity. And the new finding is just a beginning to tap into the underappreciated intelligence of insects. UPSC in the past has asked various questions on such interesting developments, thereby making it very important to us from the examination perspective. With that, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding Ganga Rejuvenation. The National Green Tribunal has recently sought a compliance report on the steps taken by the central government as well as the state governments of UP, Uttarakhand to clean the river Ganga in the stretch between Gomukh and Unnao. This follows a detailed judgment of the Green Panel, which had passed a slew of directions to these governments to rejuvenate Ganga River by declaring a no development zone of 100 meters from the edge of the river, where no construction activities, including commercial or residential buildings, could come up. It also had imposed a complete prohibition on disposal of municipal solid waste, e-waste, or any biomedical waste on the floodplains of the river Ganga and its tributaries. Reiterating its earlier order of ban on mechanical mining, the tribunal said preference should be given to semi-mechanical and preferably more manual methods of mining on the floodplain of the river Ganga. With that, let's move on to the next issue, which is an editorial regarding the recent visit of the Iranian president to India. The leaders of both Iran and India discussed on a variety of issues and made important announcements, including the decision to award India the contract to operate the Chabahar Shahid Beheshti port terminal. But still, no announcement was made on the Farzad B gas field that India had expressed its interest in. Further, there were discussions on enhancing trade and investment, ease of doing business, a double taxation avoidance agreement, as well as an expert group to recommend trade remedy measures between the two countries. India also announced it would allow Indian investment in Iran to be done in rupee terms, a concession which so far was only extended to Bhutan and Nepal, because till so far international banks and insurance companies refused to facilitate trade with Iran, fearing US sanctions on Iranian entities. In turn, Iran has issued more generous guidelines to slash the credit period for oil payments from India. Also, Iran has supported India's bid for a permanent seat at UN, and the two countries have issued a strong joint statement on the menace of terrorism. But what we shouldn't miss is the visit by the Iranian president comes at a time where there is growing uncertainty over the United States' next move on Iran regarding the Iranian nuclear deal. Therefore, it is important for India to foresee implications of its relations with Iran with that of US and Israel. And in this regard, India should maintain a steady course on its strategic interests with Iran because, as our Prime Minister put it, Iran is considered as a golden gateway for our access to Afghanistan and Central Asia. With that said, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding the recent visit of Canadian Prime Minister to India, which analysts say has not received much attention due to the Khalistan issue, which previously too had limited the bilateral relations between India and Canada. The current tensions between the two countries is apparent since the new Prime Minister took to office in 2015 and has repeatedly failed to take into account the sensitivities of India over the Sikh terror groups, which is further aggravated by the calls of various Sikh extremist groups calling for referendum 2020 for the worldwide Sikh diaspora to vote on an independent Khalistan. The two leaders are understood to have spoken on the sidelines of the G20 summit as well as the East Asian summit on the issue. To add to these tensions, some of the Canadian Gurudwaras last month announced a ban on entry of Indian elected officials, members of RSS, Shiv Sena, etc., for which the Canadian government took no action, citing freedom of expression issues. To add to all this, the Canadian Prime Minister has insisted on including some members who are considered as sympathizers of the Khalistani movement in his cabinet. Given the challenges which the Khalistani movement poses to security of India and the sensitiveness attached to it, we have to wait and watch how this issue evolves in the days to come. Having said that, I conclude today's news analysis. Do share this content if you like it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.